Hi, it's Rob Polis from Zero to Hero Fitness, and I want to welcome you to the Fat Burning Furnace video series. And today we're going to be talking about the 7 myths of fat loss and fitness. So let's get started. All right, first off, why do these myths exist? Well, people have been trying to get lean, strong, and healthy for hundreds of years. This is no secret, but the problem is that certain methods out there that have just been passed down from generation to generation like a chain letter. And many times these techniques and methods just are not effective. And the reason is that a lot of these tactics were produced and researched by people who really are of the genetic elite, those types of people that never really struggled with their weight or never really struggled with their fitness and really just tested it on themselves. So it wasn't really a large enough test. But the problem is people look to those folks with these great bodies and they realize, okay, they think this is going to work for me. So they go ahead and try it. But again, it's not a real test because these people never really struggle. Now, what happens is we're left with a variety of suggestions that are anywhere from dead wrong to just not being efficient. And the issue is that today these myths are still widely held as true. And one of the main reasons for why people are still struggling to achieve that level of leanness and level of fitness that they desire. So let's take a look at the top 7 that I've identified here. Top 7 fat loss and fitness myths and what we can do about them. Myth number 1 is that you have to count calories for fat loss. This is a big one, and the reality is that yes, you do need to have a calorie deficit to create fat loss, but you don't have to count calories to do it. In fact, counting calories is a terrible, terrible exercise in monotony if you've tried it, as I have. But you don't need to do that. You can actually create permanent fat loss by just focusing on the right types of foods and how to eat them. The reality is when you eat foods that are loaded with nutrients and the right types of nutrients, you're automatically going to reduce the amount of calories you're eating. You can automatically create this caloric deficit without even touching a calorie counter or looking at a book full of calories. So very, very exciting stuff. And just know that you don't have to count calories. Myth number 2, you can spot reduce fat from your body. Another big misconception and myth out there. The idea that you can remove fat just from one specific area like your belly, your hips or something like that, completely false. The body loses fat uniformly, so that means all over the body at once. It is a bit frustrating though because the body tends to lose fat more, or you tend to see the fat loss more in places you have less of it. So it can be a bit frustrating. But know that if you're following the right types of things to reduce your overall body fat percentage, that the fat in those areas that it accumulates more, that will eventually start to reduce as well. So you just have to be a little patient in the beginning. Surgery, by the way, is the only way to spot reduce, and I know we don't want to go down that road. So just keep in mind that you can reduce fat in those trouble areas. You just have to pay attention to your overall body fat percentage, and those areas will take care of themselves. Okay, myth number 3, resistance or weight training will make you bulky. Now, this is a big one for ladies, of course, but I can tell you right now, flat out, it's a complete old wives' tale. I mean, if you look at my wife, she was a little hesitant in the beginning, but incorporating the type of fat-burning furnace resistance training that we do caused her, again, to drop 60-plus pounds of fat. She did not get bulky. All she did was get stronger, leaner, and actually, she got a sexier body. She got more shapely, a physique because of it. So the reality, why is this the reality? Let's talk about that real quick. Basically, 99%, 99.999% actually, of women lack the necessary genetic traits and the testosterone levels to be able to produce the type of muscle mass that will cause them to look bulky. This is just the reality of how we are as a society. It's like a bell curve. There's a very small percentage of people on one end of the spectrum that can do this. So please, this is not a concern of yours. And if it were possible and you did fall into this category, it's easy to take a step back. There's a little quick technique you can do to reduce the intensity of your workouts, which will actually reduce the muscle mass but still allow you to burn fat with these routines. So that's not hard to do at all, even if you are one of those small percentages of people that have that issue. Secondly, muscle will make you look smaller. Muscle takes up less space in your body than fat does. So if, for instance, you were to lose 5 pounds of fat and gain 5 pounds of muscle, you actually didn't change on the scale, but you are smaller. And that's why people can see shrinkage in their measurements body part measurements, even though their scale hasn't budged much when you're doing these types of routines correctly. So again, another reason to get excited with fat burning furnace style exercise. Okay, myth number 4, you can resistance train for muscle tone with high reps and light or light weights. Again, big myth. Number 1, you cannot tone anything. You can either add lean muscle or you don't add lean muscle. What the whole toning thing came from, people just looking at someone who's added muscle, and they put a word to it. Oh, they look toned, but you're not toning anything. You're either building muscle or you're not building muscle. Okay. You can, however, spot produce. We talked about spot reduction earlier. You can actually produce more muscle in a certain area, which can cause, again, more muscle tone in the area. But again, muscle tone is just a phrase that's used to describe somebody who's added lean muscle. So let's just understand that. And then lastly, high reps and light weights will not work very well for adding lean muscle because they don't provide a sufficient enough stimulus to cause the body to do anything. If you're doing what you're capable of currently, the body has absolutely no reason to change. So once you understand that, you'll be much further ahead. Okay, myth number 5, you can get great abs or a six-pack with sit-ups or crunches. Another big myth. I've toiled away for thousands of crunches before in my efforts to lose belly fat, but again, to no good effect. The reality is exercise alone, and specifically sit-ups or crunches, will not give you a six-pack. It will produce muscle in the area, which is great, but if your body is still covered up by layers of fat, you're not going to see the abdominals no matter how much exercise you do. And the amount of fat on your body, specifically on your abs or your belly area, is the determining factor. So what you need to do, again, we talked about spot reduction not being possible. What you have to do is focus on your overall body fat percentage and bringing that down. So what happens then is we release the blanket of body fat over the stomach area and you see abdominals. You could actually do no abdominal exercise whatsoever and see your abdominals have a defined midsection so long as you got the body fat percentage down. That's really what it's all about. Okay, myth number 6, you must severely reduce carbs and fat to lose weight. Another big myth, and it's popular because of all the low carb diets that are popular these days. The reality is you can get the body you want without severe carb restriction. And as you know, if you've tried this, trying to adhere to some crazy low carb diet or unusual diets like this, it's a temporary fix, not a solution. And if something's not going to last, I am not going to do it. So I don't know about you, but I'd rather not waste my time. I'd rather do something that's going to last, especially if I'm putting effort into it. The reality is that your body craves certain nutrients for optimal health, optimal fitness, and optimal leanness. And if you give your body what it craves naturally, I'm talking again about foods with the right nutrients, fat loss can become a natural occurrence of what you're doing. So that is really what it's all about. There are some things you want to reduce consumption of and try to eliminate if you can, and those are like fast-acting carbs like white rice and breads, white pastas, and baked goods, stuff with lots of sugar, and even these white grains, they turn to sugar almost instantly in your body, causing an insulin spike, causing more fat storage almost immediately upon being digested. So those are things you want to eliminate. Of course, the unhealthy fats, hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated stuff, trans fats, and high fructose corn syrup, all things you want to try to eliminate if you can. And you can do that pretty simply when you follow some of the guidelines that we use in the fat burning furnace system. All right, myth number 7, you must perform moderately paced aerobics, cardio, for fat loss and cardiovascular health. And this is something a lot of experts out there still disagree with me on. And why? Because they still recommend it as the #1 way to burn fat and to increase your heart health and your cardiovascular health and your endurance. But the problems, there are a lot of problems. We can't go into them all here, but briefly I can tell you that doing too much of this exercise too frequently can actually cause your body to store fat. I know it seems like a kind of a contradiction, but what happens is you're sending a signal to the body that you need more of this exercise. Whenever you do more of this exercise, the body will say, well, we need fat stores to burn because this exercise is burning fat. So the body will keep storing fat in a reserve ready for the next time you do these workouts. Now, this doesn't happen right away, but it can happen over time. And there are some other problems, including burning muscle tissue because of the overuse. You can actually create injuries, overuse injuries from the repetitive motion. Also, muscle imbalances if you're neglecting the rest of your body, which often happens with people that are really into cardio. You can also reduce your heart's ability to deal with stress, and I'm talking, emotional, physical, mental stress. All terrible things, and all can be a result of too much cardio and moderately paced aerobic type exercise. Now, shorter periods of intensity followed by short periods of rest, okay, whether that be through interval aerobic training or properly applied resistance training, is what's going to work much better to burn fat. And if you do the resistance training route like we do with Fat Burning Furnace, we kind of get a special blend of that plus interval training built in so that you're getting all the benefits of both types of training in one quick workout. We call it the 15-minute miracle, and we can go on to more of that in a bonus myth. So surprise there. We have a bonus myth, which is you must slave away in the gym for results. Again, a lot of people think that you need to spend hours and hours in the gym and several days a week to get results. But again, this is the more is better idea and is not necessarily true. What's better is more intensity. What's better is harder work in shorter periods of time. So the harder you work, the less you have to work, and the better it works, if that makes sense. So again, you don't have to spend 4 more days a week. Even sometimes 2 or 3 days is all you need. And in our Fat Burning Furnace workouts, we're barely in the gym an hour a week, if you can believe it. And it's amazing. And this is the same types of routines that I used to lose over 40 pounds of fat. My wife used to lose over 60 pounds of fat. And again, countless others are doing the same. So when you apply the right type of intensity to your workouts, you literally force the body to respond and improve. And you can actually maximize your ability to burn fat, muscle, build muscle, strength, endurance, and lasting health, cardiovascular health with these types of resistance workouts. Again, 15 minutes or so, 2 or 3 times a week. It is really the 15-minute miracle, and it's quite amazing. So I want to thank you for checking out these 7 myths of fat loss and fitness, and I hope they've opened your eyes to how you can proceed to getting lean, strong, and healthy. And I really recommend, if you want to take the fast track in getting this done right now, you're going to want to read my step-by-step blueprint, again, Fat Burning Furnace, and the techniques and secrets that literally took me years to figure out and put together and to the point where I started experiencing rapid progress. They're yours in just minutes. So go ahead and follow the link below the video to get started on your new body today. It's Rob Polish from Zero to Hero Fitness. Thanks again for watching the video. Here's to getting lean, strong, and healthy for life.